Hello, welcome to the No Holds Barred Witchcraft podcast. And today, Dibble-Dabble, Chris. Dibble-Dabble. Do you know what that
Dibble-Dabble.
means?
No idea.
No idea? It doesn't mean no idea, no. If you go and look it up on a Google, what Dibble-Dabble means, you may be unpleasantly surprised. It has a number of rather dirty meanings on the Urban Dictionary, but then it
Okay.
also has other meanings like Scottish slang. And today's meaning that we're using is dabbling, dabblers,
Oh, okay.
you say. So
Oh, I thought it was like
dibble-dabble,
Ibble Bibble.
dibble-dabble. The dabblers do a little bit of dibbling and a dabbling in other people's lives and such. And today we are
Ah,
talking about dabbling and, well, some things have happened of late to a number of people, and they've all been traced back to the same thing essentially, which is a dabblers dabbling in things they ought not to be meddling in.
oh,
Oh, I know indeed. So we're gonna have a little think about whether this is such a good idea. Hopefully someone might learn something. Hopefully multiple people are gonna learn something. So dabbling. What would be the definition, your definition, Chris, for a dabbler in the magical arts?
for me, a dabbler would be. Sorry, my voice isn't quite right yet, but it's to get in there. For me, a dabbler would be someone that never really commits to anything. So just moves from one thing to another, never really mastering anything.
I'm going to Google and define dabbler. A dabbler, one that dabbles, one not deeply engaged in or concerned with something. Also, it's called a duck, such as a mallard, that feeds by dabbling. Okay, so we're talking about the first one, which is one not deeply engaged in or concerned with something. The picker upper and putter down of magical things, I suppose one could say. I think that's what you were getting at, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So there's dangers with dabbling, and some of them may be obvious, some of them may not be that obvious. I think one of the obvious ones is that if you're throwing yourself into doing something and tinkering with something, i.e., magic, with no real understanding of what you're doing, that is kind of like, I don't know, like we see those people that would take the fuse board cover off or take a wall socket off and then just start tinkering behind and then get an electric shock and die. That is
Yeah.
kind of like the equivalent. There's danger involved. You're meddling with something you cannot control, you do not understand. Now, in my experience, that is not as dangerous as someone that doesn't think that they're a dabbler but thinks they know a little something. Like we in the trade used to have this saying, a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
I'm presuming you've come across that phrase as well. So when we have dabblers that seem to, I think, commit to a certain extent, a path of magic. They're interested in magic. Basically, DIYers is what we're talking about. We're talking about the sort, and I'm not talking about necessarily knowledge at this point, you see, because everyone's got to start somewhere. So I'm not talking about beginners. I'm talking about the type of person that thinks, well, I ain't paying that much money to change the boiler that stopped working because they're expensive. I'll just do it myself, right?
Yeah.
I might watch a video on YouTube about boilers and stuff, but I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I'll go into it, okay? This is what I'm talking about. This is going to be a mentality thing, and it's going to be what I'm hoping that people will learn from this is a really think about their own mentality. Now, the problem is the dabblers, if they're listening, they're probably not going to be the sort that actually think about this. But there's always hope, I suppose. We should be hopeful. So the mentality of a beginner, most of the time, I see certainly the mercurial lot tend to be, I need to understand every facet of this before I even do anything. The kind of ceremonial magician background of, I'll study this for years, I'll read loads of books and I'll collect them, thinking, and eventually I might actually do something. Armchair magician, stereotypically. That's bad. But then what's also bad is kind of just dipping your toe in. Because if you've got some random liquid that you don't know what it is and you haven't got a label, is in some sort of weirdo test tube type thing, probably don't want to dip your toe in it or drink it or anything like that. But the dabbler is such that they have little respect, I think, for magic. You see, that's where I think it is a healthy respect of something. There is a certain level of awe and to a certain level of fear that gets you by when you have respect for magic, when you have respect for a craft, for a trade, for a thing, a tool. You are respectful of it enough to actually say, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to treat with this care. I'm going to treat this with care. And I don't mean like looking after an object. I mean treat it as in care, as in take it seriously. Now, that's not to say that you can't have fun with magic or anything like that, because you can take magic seriously and it be fun and have fun and mess about and stuff. But it is about this idea of, well, I kind of fancy myself as a magical practitioner, so which I kind of like that. I feel drawn to it. And I've read a couple of, books about, magic, that I got from the works, Chris. And I was on the TikTok, and I really, my heart goes out to all of those women that got burned, back in the day. And I feel like, I owe it to those that have gone before me to take up this practice of magic. We as the witches that you couldn't burn, type thing. And I don't really want to commit to it, so I will take the 3 books that I bought, one being The Green Witch, the other being some Armony nice shit, and then the third one being whatever Scott Cunningham's latest book he's released since dying. And I'll cobble together a practice, and I'll look at a spell, and I'll do a spell, okay? Because what I want to do is I want to do some magic, I want to do a spell, but I want to do it when I actually need to do the spell, you see. So rather than actually like a crafts person would, I think if you were to do something textile related, or maybe make stained glass or something like that for the first time, you'd probably practice a little bit, practice the technique. You wouldn't go straight out and get that contract with the cathedral and say, I'll restore that stained glass. What's the worst that can happen? I mean, it's only glass. You wouldn't. You would practice, wouldn't you? You would perfect it and have some kind of idea. Now, it's come to my attention that people are doing some really rather stupid shit, okay? And that stupid shit seems to be interfering with other magical practitioners, thinking that they're somehow doing something good, right? So there's a couple of problems that I've got with this, Chris. The first thing is that I think unless you're going out of your way to cause some harm to another magical practitioner, i.e., you're wanting to go and fuck someone up, but I fully endorse that. I don't have a problem with that. Then if you're not trying to fuck someone up, if you're trying to help, I think it goes without saying that if it's another magical practitioner, you would approach them and ask. I think that that's probably the best approach, because you've got a practitioner that is someone that is practicing magic. Therefore, the chances are, if they're wanting magic done, they're probably going to do it for themselves, or they're potentially going to ask others to get involved and help. What you're probably not going to do is get off your own back, prejudge a situation, think you know what's going on, and go and fix it. Going, oh, that person over there, that's a witch. I think I really needed to do some sort of healing on them because I'm not quite happy with the way that they've, they've been appearing to me as of late. I mean, I don't really know what's going on. I know I'll just do a healing ritual. Can you see something that might go wrong with that?
Well, I was always told you put your own mask on before you put somebody else's oxygen mask on.
Sort your
in
own
a
fucking life
crisis.
out. If the airplane's going down, you put your own oxygen mask on, and then you put it on the children and the other people around you. I thought that was just in case the oxygen ran out. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think it comes from the concept of not being so arrogant that you think that you can fix somebody else without them asking you to. A big one for me is always whenever we discuss, and I know kind of off tangent slightly, but kind of has the same thing, which is you can't help somebody that doesn't want to be helped. So from a mental health point of view, they need to be in the receiving space. They need to actually be open to support. And I think the same goes for magical practice, which is if they've not asked for help, then really you shouldn't be trying to dabble with their energetic centers.
Yeah. So this is something I think that we should really clarify, okay? If you want to go and cause harm to another using magic, by all means do that. I'm not saying that you cannot interfere with other people. If you've got a mundane, for example, and you think, well, that mundane needs some help, they're a mundane. They're essentially lower down the food chain, those muggles, aren't they? They're not really capable of helping themselves a lot of the time. So you may want to do a little bit of magic. Maybe you've got a loved one and you think, oh, I'm going to help them. I'm going to fix that little problem for them using my magic, or assist them with a recovery or something like that. Might do a bit of healing magic for that. It's a little bit different if you take another magical practitioner. Because if you take another magical practitioner, what that is, from my perspective, is interfering in someone else's business that you have no business interfering in. Mundanes haven't got a lot of magical business. They're oblivious to most of it. Yes, they may feel the impacts, but they're not empowered enough to do anything about it. Magical practitioners, on the other hand, are. So I consider it to be poor etiquette and extremely rude for people to go interfering with other magical practitioners unless it's in a nasty way. Which brings me on to a very important point, which Chris, you might want to say what you was going to say before I go off on a ramble.
I would still say it's bad form to even be helping somebody on a mundane level that hasn't asked for it. So I think there is an ethics there that someone has to deal with, of whether or not you are the right person to be helping somebody without their permission. And don't get me wrong, there are lots of ways that we can count permission, and we can get back to that later. But obviously, I still feel like if you're going to go meddle with someone's energy in a positive way, you need to know more about them. Like, you wouldn't expect a doctor to go running into a consultation room that isn't theirs and going, oh, you look like you'd got a bit of a limp. I'm a doctor. I need to sort that limp. Here's some medication. I know nothing about you. I don't know your history. I don't know what meds you're already taking. And I don't know what other doctor you might be seeing. But I see you with a bit of a limp, so I'm going to come sort out that limp for you. So, you know what I mean? Like, to me, that's what you're doing.
Further, actually, I'd say if you are a plastic surgeon and you've got a client, you don't say to the client, you're clearly here for a nose job. You wait for the client to turn around and say, well, actually,
exactly.
about having a little bit of tuck there. Because that could potentially You might lose a client. More than likely, you might get some more business if they're going to a plastic surgeon, because clearly they feel shit about themselves enough to spend a lot of money and undergo surgery. So maybe that is, some plastic surgeons will do that for extra money. I don't know. Is that called
But
upselling?
surely that's down to salesman's technique, isn't it? When it
Mm.
gets to, oh well, what we're just doing there, you do realise I could also fix that while you're there too. That's different. What I'm talking about is also you've got that added layer of this is potentially a friend or a friend of a friend, and in which case you fuck that up, they're gonna know it's you. Or they're likely to find out that it's you that's kind of fucked up their life. Like, do you know what I mean? Even if you were going out with good intentions, what's that other saying? The road to ruin is paved with good intention.
I thought, yeah, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and on the way to hell, there's a little chef with a
Obviously,
very poor hygiene rating. So
all
I'm
of them
told.
have poor ratings.
So, yeah, so basically, to sum up this that we're talking about, magical practitioners and dabblers. I'm more interested in dabblers because dabblers don't know what the fuck's going on. They don't know what they're doing. So they're dabbling. They're the sort of people that do, oh, I'll open a spell book and do a healing spell, because we all know it's all about the intention. If I send healing energy, you know, the sort of new age twats that say, I'm going to send this person healing energy and end up feeding their cancer so it doesn't go
Yeah.
into remission. Those sorts of people. Yeah, I'll throw fuel on the fire, but it's all right because it's pretty sparkly fuel
Yes.
in the form of
Sparkly. It's all
extremely
pretty.
flammable Christmas decorations. So, so far we've talked about the ethics and morality. Now, I am one of those people that don't mind playing God in mundane's lives, and I will fuck about. There might be someone that's really annoying me, so I might not do nasty things to them. I might make them, you know, get a better job or something like that. Or there might be a certain person with the first name with the letter J who keeps going on and on about a certain condition. I might maybe put it a little bit right, or maybe make the pain a little less, just so that she shuts the fuck up, right? That is selfish. I agree. That is selfish. I shouldn't necessarily do that from an ethical perspective, but fuck it, I'm a witch. What's the point in having a power if you don't fucking use it? So I'm not saying that you should go out and do that, but I'm saying to do that. But when I do that, I have an understanding that the most important thing is to stop the bitch moaning. So that's why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it to help her. I'm doing it to stop her moaning about her illness all the time. The second thing is that I need to think I'm perfectly happy for it to go wrong. Okay, I am happy for it to go wrong. Third thing is I'm going to actually fucking think about what is there. I'm going to do my homework and I'm going to actually think about, you know, what do I know about the person? If I don't know this about the person, I'm going to go and find out, whether that be in a mundane way or magically, psychically, whatever. And then I'm going to put together a little plan as to what I'm going to do. I'm not going to flip open a spellbook and do some generic shit. It's going to be tailored. It's not going to be a case of, well, Tic Tacs kind of look like that thing Daddy takes when he's not very well. I know. I'll just give her Tic Tacs. Right. So there's a whole nother issue when it comes to this, and that I believe is psychology. Psychology. You know that pseudoscience we love, psychology.
Mm.
Right. So understanding and dealing with mental health is one of those things that I think gets so poorly diagnosed in professional. And I mean, that's people that went to university with letters after the name, that did degrees in psychology and such. They're so shit at diagnosing a lot of mental problems and helping people through them. Just ask anyone that's been to counselling, that's come out the other end thinking, I think I fucking wasted my time. That a lot of people doing the Dr. Google, a lot of people that are thinking, well, that person's a little bit upset, or that person's depressed, or that person, ultimately it comes down to, that person is not behaving like I want them to behave. They must be ill, whether it be mentally or physically. I'm going to do some magic to fix them, right? which kind of goes, like you were saying, in specifically in terms of mental health, about fixing people. That goes into a rather grey area there. Both psychology and medicine has a very bad history when it comes to their ideas of who needs fixing and why. Did you ever do conversion therapy in any of your lives, Chris? And was it as kinky as it sounds? He's gone silent.
It depends what you consider to be conversion therapy, I guess.
Shit, he's triggered. Look, he's gone all quiet. Anyway, let's change the subject. So getting involved with other people's business, the danger is that you're not understanding. Now, I did this wonderful blog post once, and I think most of it fell under deaf ears, or fell on deaf ears or eyes, given it was a blog post and it was written. A lot of people, I don't think, understood it. Okay. And although it did add a little bit to my reputation at the time for being a bad boy, right, that wasn't really what I was trying to get at. I don't know if you read it or remember it. It was called ℍ𝕠𝕝𝕣𝕣𝕣𝕖 or something like that. It'll be in the ♁Witchcraft Facebook group. And in it, I was talking about, if you want to learn magic, you want to master spell work and such like that, what you need to do is, you need to experiment. So you need some actual practice and experience under your belt before you take on a job that matters. That was what I was getting at. Because when you try something for the first, second, third time, chances are it's going to come out misshapen. Right, first time I did knitting, tried knitting, it was shite. Right, I'm not gonna lie, it was absolute shit. I made a puppet, it was a crap puppet. It wasn't gonna learn it. It wasn't gonna earn any awards. Right, I'm a little bit better now. I've got some practice, but like with anything, practice makes perfect. Now the danger is, what I see with dabblers is, yes, some people dabble around to see what happens. That's experimentation. But some of the really dangerous dabblers are the superstitious-y, traditional witchy and modern day Wiccan and New Ager types that think they know a little bit. Okay. So the danger here is that they think, well, I'm not really going to do any magic, but now suddenly I've got something that I really need done. I need to pay rent by the end of the month, so I need to do that magic money spell. Oh shit, look, it all went wrong because I've got no experience, don't know what I'm doing. So rather than kind of doing money spells when I didn't need the money, to see how it works and get some experience in that, I wait until it's basically the final draft night before you hand in, the essay or whatever it is. I'm going to wait till the last minute and I'm going to do the work. I'm not going to learn or anything like that. This is what I'm seeing with some of these people, where what the blog post that I was writing, ℍ𝕠𝕝𝕣𝕣𝕣𝕖, you are going to end up messing up spells for the first time. When you first cast them, they're not always going to work out perfect. And when you're working on other people with particularly healing elements, you are going to fuck that right up, okay? Because healing is very dangerous. It's why when it comes to doctors and that, they spend a long time in medical school, a long time studying before they even get into medical school. And then after they've graduated and finished medical school, they spend a long time under the wing of other people, other actual doctors and stuff, right? Same with nurses, and you can even say that for other people in many different professions, right? Now, what we need to understand is ℍ𝕠𝕝𝕣𝕣𝕣𝕣𝕣𝕣𝕣𝕣𝕣𝕣𝕣. Now, what that means and what I was getting across in the blog post was, experimentation on people is necessary for you to understand when you're healing and working on people, right? So I say experiment and do your healing and experimentation stuff. Don't do it on someone you care about, do it on the scraps, i.e. people that you don't care about. So we normally get a list of people when we get mentees on and say, write a list of 3 people you like, write a list of 3 people that you can't stand, don't mind if they die of some sort of bubonic plague or something like that, And people do that. And the reason is when it's something a little bit more dangerous and could potentially go wrong, we get them to experiment, whether it's a nice spell or a nasty spell, on the person that don't fucking matter, knowing that there's potential for things to go wrong. What we don't do is we don't say, oh, yes, healing spell, You know, you've got that person that's got that really serious fucking medical condition and a load of issues mental health wise because of that medical condition. I know we'll do one spell and you've never done this spell before, nor do you really understand how spells work, and we'll get you to fix it, right? Because chances are something's gonna fucking go wrong. And if it don't go wrong, the only reason for that, generally speaking, is because you weren't magical enough to do any fucking thing in the first place. Most of the time, complete beginners aren't able to make a decent manifestation at all. They're not able to do anything, okay? Then we have people that can do something. A lot of the time, the spell works out not quite as they intended, not quite as they wanted. Would you agree with that? Yeah.
Yup.
Okay. And then we have the few people that actually do get it right first time and everything works out wonderful. But guess what? Statistically, you're probably not going to be one of those people. So logic dictates that you practice spells. So let's think about this. If you've got a dabbler, someone that isn't well versed in magic, doesn't have a huge amount of experience, doesn't really understand what's going on, and they've got someone that they've taken an interest in, that they think has physical, mental, social, whatever issues, and they decided to go and tamper with that person. And by the way, that person that they're tampering is a magical practitioner, then several things are going to happen. One, potentially everything goes hunky-dory and it all works wonderfully. Chances are it's not going to fucking happen, but who knows, it might. Second thing, you might end up making the situation worse because you're dabbling and messing with magic when another magical practitioner may be undergoing some kind of ritualistic work on themselves, okay, which you may be getting in the way of. It's potentially not going to be very good, not good results. So you're basically interfering with someone else's experiment at that point, okay? Third thing is that what gives you the right to do it? Now, you know, us magical practitioner, witches, magicians, all that, you know, sat on the throne, master in the circle, microcosm to the great macrocosm, all that shite, right? We think we're the real deal and good shit. Our will bends the universe. We bend the universe to our will, yeah. That's understandable and that's fine, but understand that you are doing that. Understand that you are taking another bite, saying that you're going to help and perform magic to assist another practitioner without their permission. You are asserting yourself as dominance over them, okay, and interfering with their life, their path, all of these various things. And I'm not saying you cannot do that. I'm saying that be aware that that is what you are doing. So there we go. We've got about 2 minutes left of the regular podcast. Is there anything you want to say before we go over to the Patreon and I can really say what I think?
Well, the only thing that kind of springs to mind, just going on that kind of practice makes perfect, and the hex to heal, I quite like that process. The main reason being, I use it in craft. So for me, taking something apart, you learn far more about it, how somebody else who's technically should be more skilled than you built that thing in the first place. So I quite like taking things apart in order to learn about them before I go and attempt something of my own. What we will often do, and from a magical point of view, is ask someone to deconstruct somebody else's spellcraft. So, and I don't mean going in and tampering, because it's quite clearly this episode is about not doing that. What we're talking about is going and looking at somebody else's spell work and deconstructing it and telling us how it worked. So, and that might be a ritual. I know the ℍ𝕠𝕝𝕣𝕣𝕖𝕕 is a favourite of yours, Liam, for that process of actually kind of breaking something down that is long established and explaining exactly how it works, actually what it is and how it works.
So that's it for the regular edition of the No Holds Barred Witchcraft podcast. Get on the Patreon.